Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we will unpack a topic that challenges some of men's most common and costly misconceptions regarding dating. If you've ever felt like you were doing all the right things but still weren't getting the results you hoped for with women, this video is for you. Too many men believe that success in dating comes down to looks, luck, or memorizing the perfect pickup line. But the truth is, there's a more profound psychological framework at play, one that most men were never taught, and many still misunderstand. Women respond not to surface-level efforts, but to internal qualities like certainty, leadership, emotional presence, and self-respect. When you understand this, everything shifts. In this detailed section-by-section breakdown, we'll explore how to shift the dynamic from chasing approval to becoming the kind of man women are drawn to and want to invest in. This isn't about manipulation or games. It's about knowing your value, speaking the emotional language that creates genuine connection, and setting the tone for relationships that serve you. Suppose you've ever asked yourself, why doesn't she seem interested even when I try my best? Or, why do things feel one-sided no matter what I do? You'll want to stay tuned until the end. When we're done, you'll walk away with practical tools that can change how you communicate, connect, and lead your interactions with women. Let's dive in and start building the confidence, clarity, and mindset to get accurate results. 1. Shift from asking to expecting. An invisible thread runs through every interaction between a man and a woman, an undercurrent that subtly shapes perception, desire, and emotional connection. It's not about looks, status, or even charm. It's about presence. And within that presence lies one of the most misunderstood, yet magnetic qualities a man can embody: certainty. When a man approaches a woman and says, "Can I take you out?" or "Would you like to hang out sometime?" he may believe he's being polite or respectful. He may even think he's doing the right thing, offering her the choice, giving her space to decide, making sure she's comfortable. But he often doesn't realize he's communicating something far more powerful than words. He's handing her the reins, and without knowing it, he's saying, "I'm not sure if I'm good enough yet, so I need your approval before I move forward." This is where the dynamic shifts, because the moment you ask for permission that way, you put her in the evaluator position, and by default you place yourself in the position of the applicant. Women may appreciate kindness and politeness, but what pulls them in on a visceral, emotional level is a man who leads, not someone who seeks permission to exist in her world. This doesn't mean being forceful or overbearing. It means being grounded, sure of yourself, confident in your value. A man centered in his masculine energy doesn't ask if he can be part of her life. He invites her into his. There's a quiet power in that shift, which speaks volumes without being loud. Instead of saying, "Would you like to go out with me?" imagine saying, "There's this jazz bar I've been meaning to check out Friday night. Come with me." Or, "I'm free Thursday. Let's grab a drink after work." These aren't questions. They're confident statements. They reflect a man who already has direction, knows how to move through the world, and invites others to experience it. Whether she accepts or not is up to her, but his value remains unaffected. And this is critical. Women don't want to feel like they're carrying the interaction. When a man lacks direction, she has to fill in the blanks, decide what to do, when to meet, and how to respond. That responsibility doesn't build desire, it creates mental fatigue. But when she meets a man who leads with clarity and certainty, she feels something different. She can relax into the interaction, follow his lead, and simply respond. That's where connection begins to flow. That's where tension and attraction have space to grow. If she accepts, She's not just agreeing to plans, she's responding to the strength in your delivery. If she suggests another day, she's still showing interest, trying to stay within your frame. And if she declines or doesn't respond, that's not a rejection of you, it's a reflection of her priorities. A man who leads with certainty doesn't take that personally. He simply adjusts his path and continues moving forward. This is where emotional discipline comes in. Never act from a place of neediness. Neediness is the enemy of masculine power. If she doesn't reply, don't double text. Don't chase. Don't try to re-explain or win her over with words. Attraction doesn't grow through convincing. It grows through energy, presence, and confidence. When a man shows that he is unaffected by silence or disinterest, he demonstrates one of the most rare and compelling traits: detach. Not because he doesn't care, but because he values himself enough not to beg for attention that isn't freely given. And here's the paradox. When you stop chasing validation and looking for her approval, you become more attractive. At that moment, she sees a man not waiting for permission to live his life. A man who knows his worth, regardless of who notices it. A man who leads rather than follows. That's what creates emotional gravity. That's what draws women in without a word. It's not about lines or techniques. It's not about playing games or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about embodying the principle that you are the invitation, not the request. Your time is valuable, your energy is not given lightly, and the right woman, one in tune with her feminine energy, will recognize that certainty not as arrogance, but as a rare strength, the kind that makes her want to follow your lead. When you live with that mindset, everything changes. You stop hoping for responses, you stop needing outcomes, and you start choosing the kind of connections that match your level. In doing so, you increase your chances of building real chemistry and protect your energy from those who were never meant to receive it in the first place. Because women are not drawn to men who ask for space in their lives. They're drawn to men who own their space and invite others to share. 2. Speak the language of emotion, not logic. Many men approach conversations with women as if they're standing in front of a hiring committee. They lead with facts, accomplishments, and well-rehearsed lines that sound logical and polished. I have a great job. I'm a nice guy. I'm not like other guys. These statements make sense on paper. They check all the boxes of what a reasonable person might want in a partner. But attraction doesn't happen on paper, and certainly doesn't grow from a list of credentials, because women, unlike the rational logic that drives male friendships, don't connect through facts. They connect through feelings. When a man talks to a woman the same way he talks to his male friends, he unknowingly creates a wall. He may think he's being transparent, honest, or respectable, but she's feeling nothing. Or worse, she's bored. That's the silent killer of attraction, boredom. Because women don't fall for logic, they fall for emotion. It's an emotion that stirs curiosity. It's an emotion that creates a memory. And it's an emotion that drives decisions in love, sometimes even against better judgment. This is why a woman might walk away from a kind, successful man and chase after someone emotionally unavailable, unpredictable, or even toxic. It doesn't make logical sense, but that poisonous man creates feelings, tension, mystery, excitement, even chaos. And feelings, no matter how irrational, stick. They bypass logic and reach straight into her emotional core. That's not because she wants drama, it's because she wants to feel alive. And if your words don't make her think, she'll look for someone else who can. To build true attraction, you need to shift your language. not from honesty to manipulation, but from logic to emotion. Instead of listing your virtues, start creating emotional moments. These don't require fireworks or theatrics. Often it's the subtlest expressions that carry the most weight. A playful challenge. It's a teasing assumption. A curious glance. When you say, "You seem like the kind of woman who has a wild side no one knows about," you're doing more than complimenting her. You're inviting her to step into a part of herself she doesn't usually show. You're suggesting she has layers, and that you can see beyond the surface. Compare that to the standard "what do you do for work?" It's a dead end. It forces her into autopilot. She's answered that question 100 times. There's no emotion there. But if you say, "I bet you were the kind of student teachers love to hate," you're creating a scene she can picture. Maybe she laughs, smirks, and says, "How did you know?" Either way, she's emotionally involved. And when she's emotionally involved, she's no longer assessing you, she's experiencing you. And that experience matters more than your resume. The goal isn't to make her think you're interesting. The goal is to make her feel something interesting when she's with you. That shift alone turns a dull conversation into an emotionally engaging one. She starts leaning in, curious. You stop being predictable. You become someone who sees her. She talks to her and feels different to be around. This is why mystery matters. It isn't about playing games or hiding who you are. It's about not giving everything away too soon. When you leave space for her to wonder about your past, thoughts, and inner world, you give her a reason to return, to ask more, to invest. Emotional investment is what builds genuine connection. If you tell her everything, answer every question plainly, and remove all uncertainty, she has nothing left to chase. But if you leave room for her curiosity, she begins to imagine the parts of you she hasn't seen yet. That imagination draws her in, more profound than any list of facts ever could. Don't try to convince her with logic. Don't assume she'll choose you because you're stable, kind, or impressive. Show her that you're different because you understand how she feels. Because you can talk in a way that moves her, not just informs her. Create emotional peaks in the conversation. Use statements that spark the imagination. Add a little tension. Suggest something bold. Let her play along. When she laughs, challenges you back, or teases you in return, that's not rejection. That's engagement. That's the dance beginning. And once the dance starts, she's not thinking about your job title or past relationships. She's caught up in the feeling of being around you, and that feeling is what she'll remember when the night is over. That's what will bring her back. Because in the end, the connection isn't built on who you are, it's built on how you make her feel. 3. Make her want to give you what you want. One of the men's most common mistakes in modern relationships is overextending themselves too soon. They give too much, too early, without asking whether their offer is being received, valued, or even reciprocated. In doing so, they slip into the position of the seeker, the chaser, the one constantly reaching, and attraction begins to fade quietly in that posture. Desire doesn't bloom in spaces of over-availability. It grows where value is perceived and earned. A woman doesn't naturally cherish what is constantly given without cost. She appreciates what she has to work for, what challenges her subtly, and what calls her to show up with effort, intention, and care. This isn't about playing games, it's about understanding that humans, by nature, value most what they invest in. When a man gives without receiving, compliments without boundaries, and pursues without pause, he feels less like a prize and more like a guarantee, and no one treasures what they see as guaranteed. This is why the first shift is simple but powerful. Move from being the one who asks to be the one who inspires giving, not through control, but through presence, not through pressure, but through emotional intelligence. If she provides warmth, attention, and energy, respond in kind. Reward behavior you want to see more of. But if she pulls away, emotionally, physically, or through communication, don't fill the gap with over-effort. Don't try to prove your worth in her silence. Let her notice the emptiness where your energy used to be. Let her feel the contrast. That's when the dynamic begins to rebalance. Because women don't chase a man who is always there, they chase the emotional feedback loop, the pattern of giving and receiving, earning and enjoying. When she sees that her actions bring emotional reward from you, she begins to participate more consciously, and the moment she starts choosing to engage, not out of obligation but from desire, is when you've stepped into real influence. There's also something quietly magnetic about a man who is selective with his time. When you're not always available, not always replying instantly, not always eager to say yes, she feels it. And far from pushing her away, this scarcity makes her lean in. She starts adjusting her rhythm to match yours. She wonders what you're doing, who has your attention, why you're not as accessible as the others. In that way, attraction begins to spark, because scarcity creates value. Not artificial scarcity built on ego or games, but natural, quiet boundaries that say, my time is meaningful, and it's given where it's earned. Women respond strongly to men who carry themselves like this, not arrogantly, but with calm self-possession. A man who knows his presence is a gift doesn't need to announce it. He doesn't need to overcompensate. He lets his boundaries do the speaking. And that changes everything. Suddenly, she's not just showing up for you. She's showing up for the experience of being chosen by a man who chooses wisely. However, the most underestimated element in this dynamic is the power of subtle reframing. Instead of directly asking for things, learn to spark her desire to give by appealing to her self-imaginate creativity. Don't demand, invite. Don't command, suggest, in a way that makes her feel it was her idea. Instead of saying, send me a picture, you say, I bet you're looking amazing right now. It's unfair I'm not seeing it. Instead of asking, can you cook for me? Say, you strike me as someone who could outcook most people I know. I need proof someday. These aren't just lines. Their calibrated statements activate her subconscious desire to impress, contribute, and feel seen. You're not putting her in a position of service, you're giving her a stage to express a version of herself she's proud of. And when a woman feels admired for more than just how she looks, when she feels like her effort draws your attention, she truly begins to invest. In the end, attraction is not built on words or effort alone. It's built on tension, on rhythm, on creating the emotional space for her to step into the dance willingly, not reluctantly. When a woman feels she has earned your attention, she values it more. When she has to reach a little, when she has to think about what draws you in, when she feels the pleasure of contribution rather than the weight of being pursued, she becomes more engaged, more invested, and more open. And that's the secret. To create a space where giving becomes her desire, not your demand. Where the relationship isn't an emotional transaction but a mutual investment. Where you are not begging to be seen, but quietly standing in your worth, allowing her to want to come closer. Love and attraction are never about giving everything to get something. It's about sharing just enough to inspire her to lean in and then letting her choose to stay. 4. The fatal mistake: negotiating for her attention. One of the most common traps men fall into is trying too hard to prove they're good enough for a woman's attention. It often begins subtly. He notices she starts to text less, takes longer to reply, or seems emotionally distant. His instinct is to double down. He sends more messages. He reminds her of how kind and loyal he is. He stays in her orbit, even if that means accepting the friend zone, secretly hoping it will one day evolve into something more. But this effort, however well-intentioned, backfires. Women don't respond to negotiation when it comes to attraction. Respect cannot be bargained for. And when a man tries to win a woman over by showcasing his virtues, pleading his case, or waiting patiently in the background, she doesn't see a strong man. She sees someone who doesn't value himself enough to walk away when he's not being met with reciprocity. Attraction is rooted in respect. When a woman senses that a man is willing to negotiate for her time and attention, her respect for him diminishes. And once that respect is gone, so is the spark. It's not cruelty, it's biology. Women are wired to be drawn to men who lead with certainty, not desperation. The man who commands her interest isn't the one trying to sell himself. He's the one who leads. He sets the emotional tone. He doesn't wait around hoping she chooses him. He allows her to qualify herself to him. And if she doesn't, he moves on with quiet confidence. This isn't arrogance, it's self-respect in action. That's why following what can only be called the one-strike rule is essential. If she pulls away once, mirror her, match her distance, no chasing, no justifying. If she does it again, let her go completely. The kind of woman genuinely interested in a man won't leave him guessing. She'll make it known through her actions. Clarity is the language of genuine interest. More importantly, men must learn to drop the pick-me energy. When a man starts begging for a woman's attention or working overtime to prove he's worth her affection, he strips himself of mystery and power. The most attractive men aren't the ones who try to be liked by everyone. They're the ones who stand firm in who they are and let the right people come to them. Women don't want to feel like they're doing a man a favor by choosing him. They want to earn a man's attention whose value is apparent through his behavior, not words. All of this stems from one mindset shift: embracing abundance. A man must carry himself as though his time is precious, his energy is valuable, and his presence is earned. He doesn't chase after people who show indifference. He doesn't overinvest in someone who hasn't proven herself. And he certainly doesn't fear losing one person because he knows what he brings is rare. A woman will never respect a man who puts her on a pedestal and negotiates for scraps of affection, but she will always be drawn to the man who knows what he's worth, shows it in how he moves, and never needs to prove it. Ultimately, success with women isn't about being perfect, flashy, or endlessly accommodating. It's about understanding the psychology behind connection, respect, and desire. This video has unpacked the subtle but powerful shifts in mindset and behavior that separate men who chase from men who lead. When you stop asking for approval and begin expecting participation, speak to emotion rather than logic, and reward effort rather than overgive, you naturally shift into a position of strength. Women are drawn not to men who try to impress, but to those who quietly command respect through their confidence, self-control, and sense of purpose. The most valuable relationships are never forced. They're formed when both people are mutually invested. That's why a man who knows his worth never negotiates for attention, over-explains his value, and never fears walking away. He doesn't chase what isn't reciprocated. He builds a fulfilling life that others want to be a part of, not because he begged for it, but because he inspired it. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you applied any of these strategies in your own life? What's worked for you and what hasn't? Share your experiences in the comments below, and if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more insights on dating, psychology, and personal growth. See you in the next one.